Welcome to The Other Side of the Page, a Bookish podcast where we yap about the books we love
and the songs that give us main character energy.
We're here to sift through the chaos that is our TBR.
And to let you know why a book might just be your next favorite read.
I'm Britt, dramatic plot twist lover and champion for MMCs needing to be more pathetic and down bad.
And I'm Hannah, reader of at least 5 books at once and a detailed fantasy map enthusiast.
Every Wednesday, press play on a brand new Bookish episode.
Stay up to date with the books that we will be covering by following us on social media at othersideofthepagepod on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads.
And don't forget to follow, rate, and review the podcast a shining 5 stars on your preferred platform, and it helps us so much with visibility.
And this week we're talking about The Return of Ellie Black by Emiko Jean.
And we'll be talking about our song choices alongside the plot and chatting about our favorite moments. So grab an iced coffee
or iced chai
and let's turn the page together.
Dear reader, here's a synopsis of The Return of Ellie Black. It's been 20 years since Detective Chelsea Calhoun's sister vanished when they were teenagers. And ever since then, she's been searching for signs for closure for other missing girls. But happy endings are rare in Chelsea's line of work. Then a glimmer. Local teenager Ellie Black, who disappeared without a trace 2 years earlier, has been found alive in the woods of Washington State. But something is not right with Ellie. She won't say where she's been or who she's protecting, and it's up to Chelsea to find the answers. She needs to get to the bottom of what happened to Ellie, for herself and for the memory of her sister, but mostly for the next girl who could be taken, and who, unlike Ellie, might never return. And we think you should read this book if you like to dive into missing person stories and try to figure out the mystery plaguing small towns.
Yes, and you might want to avoid this book if any of the following are potentially triggering for you. Kidnapping, confinement, child abuse, sexual assault, rape, murder, pregnancy, infertility, miscarriage. It's graphic, but I don't think it's as graphic as some of the other books that we've read. So I don't think you should be too concerned. However, always check your triggers before you dive in if you have any, cautions.
Let's talk about our song choices.
Yes.
I always feel like it's a little tougher when it's a thriller or mystery or horror.
I agree.
And we don't necessarily have insight to the villain. Like, yes. I feel like, when we know that, or we have a different kind of like female protagonist, we can pick out the song there. But I went for a very vibey, kind of hauntingly like song.
Yeah.
It's called A Forest by The Cure. So throwback there.
I don't think I've ever heard it.
No?
I'm gonna have to look it up.
I don't think excited. You'll understand.
I'll see the theme lyrics. I'll see what the vibe is. So immediately after finishing this book, I dove into my Throwback Thursday playlist, which has like 450 songs from early 2000s, some 90s in there. And one song, when I heard it, I was like, yes, that's definitely it. I was oscillating between 2, but I landed on Your Guardian Angel by the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. And man, do I love this song. I was listening to it and I'm like, yeah, this is some good shit still.
All right. We didn't put a note in there, but I want to say this before we go into our little thing.
Yeah.
We will be talking about spoilers. So if you have not read The Return of Ellie Black, pause now, go read and come back. Or if you wanted to pretend this is a true crime podcast about Ellie Black, then stick around. We will do our best.
We're going to try. We are going to try our best.
But we will spoil right away.
We sure will. So heading into our Pages Turned and Bridges Burned section, we're going to start off with the theme lyric that we chose from our song and then explain briefly why we picked each song.
So my theme lyric is "Find the girl while you can." Which, like going off the synopsis, and we'll go more into it too.
Yeah.
Chelsea, I feel like, feels like she let her sister down by not finding her in time.
Yeah.
Before she passed away. And so now she's like set for that, right? Like,
yeah.
Through that. So like that's Chelsea, like find the girl while you can. And the song is very vibey in that way. And like hauntingly saying that, like find the girl while you can. So it just gave me that sense of where Chelsea wants to help as many girls as she can. And when Ellie returns, and then the domino effect of like how many other girls that also finds out.
Yeah.
So that is why that theme lyric stuck out to me.
I love that. My theme lyric is kind of just the basis of the song. And it's, I will never let you fall. I'll stand up with you forever. I'll be there for you through it all, even if saving you sends me to heaven. And the reason that I picked this song was as soon as Willa was introduced into the mix, Ellie took on the role that she was being tested for, which was her maternal instincts. And this song is technically a love song, but I think it can relate to platonic love in the sense that Ellie turned into an automatic protector for Willa and would do things to compromise her own safety in order to protect her. And in the end, we obviously, again, spoiler alert, but in the end, we see Ellie go to great lengths to try and save her, even though she left. And I think that this song is just about self-sacrificing and like your love for someone, even if you don't fully understand it. Yeah. So that's why I picked this song and that lyric specifically.
Excited to talk about that more. So let's talk about our two main characters. We have Chelsea and Ellie.
Yes.
So Chelsea is a detective. She is like one of the only females, if only the only female, I think, in her precinct.
She was
right?
the only one in her precinct because she talked to the other detective who was like one of like 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah. She grew up with this older sister, and the older sister went missing when they were teenagers, and a lot of drama happened around that. And her parents split up after that, and there was just a lot going on with Chelsea. A lot of heavy things.
Yeah.
And while she is working, Ellie, who went missing 2 years ago, who was a case that she was working on, just appears in the woods.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and we get like flashes of Ellie in like a then and now kind of situation. And we see the portrayal of Ellie by her family. And then we see the Ellie that actually existed, which was kind of a chaotic wild child through her teen years. So she got abducted when she was 16, right? Yeah, so it was 16. I was teetering between that because I remember him saying something about 19 as well, but I think she was 16, found at 18. It was 2 years and 2 weeks that she was brought back, basically, and in the woods. But we also see a very resourceful survivalist side to Ellie, as we see her kind of work her way through captivity. And we see someone who is extraordinarily empathetic and torn up about not being able to help and do things while still trying to protect herself. And I think that she was a great portrayal of what it means to survive and like the lengths that you'll go to protect yourself and others. And we also see snippets of her current therapy sessions, which talk a lot about like dissociation and certain things associated with trauma, and how we compartmentalize things. And I thought she was a really well fleshed out character. And I also thought she was a good contrast to Chelsea.
Yeah, I really liked Ellie. I was excited when her POV started because I didn't know where it would kind of land with Ellie.
Totally.
And I really enjoyed her point of view, her chapters.
Me too.
But before we dive any further, I want to know who you expected was the captor. Like, did it change, or did you have like an idea from the beginning, or what? Where was your thoughts?
I'm gonna be honest. Usually, I like formulate opinions very early on. I feel like this one was hard to formulate an opinion with. I know we were given all of the clues and all of the pieces. I know there was kind of a red herring with Chelsea's husband thrown in there. And I think that there's pieces that I look back and I go, oh, it makes so much sense that it came from the Abbott line. Like, it makes so much sense, like why we got, those ties there. But I genuinely did not have like a concept of who it was. I just knew that it wasn't Danny. Yeah.
Yeah. I like thought it was Danny for like a hot second, and then I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Did you have any idea?
No, I had no idea. I didn't expect Noah really at all, I think, for like a second.
Yeah.
But I read a lot of like Reddit theories that people were like, it would have been better with Noah. And I'm like, no.
I don't think so, because the way that like the captors worked and like how around the clock they were, and like also how isolated they were, it would have been incredibly difficult, if not borderline impossible, to keep up a facade while maintaining a regular everyday life.
Yeah. And I think we already said spoilers, but I think if Chelsea's sister was actually dead,
yes,
it could have made more sense. But I think that reveal of like her being alive and brainwashed,
yeah,
it made so much sense why that was the way it was.
And like, I, for some reason, didn't suspect that was her sister. This was a book that I fully passenger princessed my way through. And you guys, like, if you've been listening to us, if you know the types of books we read, I typically can put some pieces together.
Yeah,
We
I
read a
believe
lot of
face value
mysteries.
that was, and I mean, they did a good job, right? They put the DNA evidence in the car,
Yes.
like framing for her murder, even though they didn't have her body.
Yeah.
But I didn't think for once that one of the girls was her
No,
sister.
I thought that her sister could have absolutely been a victim of like this kind of ring. Like I thought that maybe her sister was the one that like kicked off the all of the abductions and stuff, and maybe it continued like through a familial line. I had no idea that it would be Serenity was actually Lydia. It did not compute to me.
Yeah, that one I was like I think I like visually like gasped. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not.
I will say the one thing about Serenity is when Ellie was like, oh, is she like a captor too? And like she's working with them. In my head, I was like, the statistics, and I know it's fiction, but this was running on a pretty rooted in reality type of fiction. The statistics that women commit abductions like this and heinous acts to this degree is a slim margin compared to men. And more often than not, there is also abuse and coercion that goes into it. So I had a thought that Serenity was not like a mastermind behind any of these things. But that's as far as my thought process went.
Yeah. You touch on it briefly that in Ellie's point of view, we do get to like see her therapy sessions.
Yeah.
And they do like a drawing therapy where Ellie does draw the girl she was with and draws like circles around around their wrists. And so we see from like the therapist and like Chelsea's point of view that it like they think it could be like handcuffs, that they're handcuffed, but then we get Ellie's perspective that it's like friendship bracelets that they made. And so I thought that was just like an interesting dynamic as well.
Yeah.
That.
Me too. And I think that their friendship that was formed out of necessity and survival was like a bright spot in the book itself. Just watching like how they bonded together, and I think it made the devastation even more painful when what happened to Gabby happened to her after Ellie accidentally said her name. I can't imagine what sort of like grief something like that would entail. While also like you're just under complete duress where you have to like you're genuinely just fighting for your life, and like yes, you care about what's happening to the other people, but at some point you have to push it aside to make sure that you stay alive. And I also think it was, have you watched The Hunting Wives yet? Okay, so it's been on my shelf since it came out on Book of the Month. Like I know it was my Book of the Month pick whenever that came out. And I haven't read it, but I watched The Hunting Wives, and not a total spoiler because I feel like this is like a pretty common thing, but basically like a woman that is in charge will always find a way. Like they'll always find the answer. And I feel like that was Chelsea kind of fighting the red tape of the process. It kind of paralleled a situation that happens in The Hunting Wives. It was just watching Chelsea be like, no, the case isn't over. Like, you're not taking me off the case. Like, I'm going to go through with this. I'm going to do this. And I think that the author Emiko did a fantastic job of paralleling like different types of tenacity in the way that it's required in the like both situations.
I want to circle back real quick about the scene where Ellie does slip out Gabby's name because it reminds me of one of the lyrics in the song that I have, because it's suddenly I stop, but I know it's too late. I'm lost in a forest all alone. And so I feel like when that moment happened, she was like, crap, like I just said this, and then it's like backtracking everything, and it's like you suddenly stop, and like, but you already know that it's like too late, like all these dominoes, the butterfly effect or whatever, have fallen, and now they're just lost and have to like regroup and get back to it. So just remind me of that. So when Ellie is found, she's found wearing this sweatshirt. There's blood on this sweatshirt. The sweatshirt's Gabby's. It's like all of these things. And I'm like, it feels a little too weird, right? A little weird. But then they test the blood that's on the sweatshirt to see if it's Gabby's, if it's Ellie's, whose it is. And it comes back this like Larry guy. I think that's his name, Larry.
I think something like that.
And because like he's in the system, and they're like, oh, we found him. We got him. So they could like go to his house and he's like, what the heck are you doing here?
Yeah.
And like he has a red bandana hanging up and Ellie describes that like one of her captors had a red bandana.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts to tell his story about how he was married and has a daughter but hasn't seen her in X amount of years. And but now she's missing. And Chelsea's like, what?
Yeah.
She's missing?
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out that it's Willa, this poor little baby angel.
I know.
That got abducted. And but I thought that was an interesting way to, I was like glad it wasn't just a dead end.
Yes.
That it tied to it still.
Yes.
I enjoyed that connection.
100%. And you have a note in here about like listening and reading true crime stories. And this book did feel like I was listening to like a recap of a true crime podcast, like kind of going through the story without it being like, you know, a podcast type format, like some of the true crime books that we've read have taken on. But specifically the like, you know, calling the sweatshirt company and seeing like if there was a specialty batch made and this was the specific number, and, you know, running into the dead ends of talking to people who don't want to talk and talking to people who don't want to do this and who are uncooperative. And it felt, like I said earlier too, this book felt rooted in reality enough, but was still an entertaining fictional story that I was able to like read and enjoy on the whole.
So when Ellie's released, she's acting weird, right? Like we said in the synopsis. What did you think was going on with her? Because what actually was going on, like what she did, like threw me off. Like it makes like sense, like knowing the whole picture.
Yeah.
But I just thought she was traumatized.
I also just thought she was traumatized.
And trying to just run away.
Yeah, I don't know. That piece was kind of like, it felt a little plucked out of left field. It felt like a little bit for like shock value, like, oh, we got to bump this up somehow, like let's add in this random plot point. I don't think it fully detracted from the story for me, but
yeah. I feel like thinking about it now though too, I feel like it shows how brainwashed the girls were, like all the girls were.
Yeah.
You know, like how in 2 years, how much your brain can be rewired and how you feel like you have to do this extreme thing in order to get this, you know?
And how because it makes sense to like how she responded to like, you can't cut your hair because I don't like your hair short. You know, when we put on You Are My Sunshine, she had like a visceral reaction to it. Like, and especially when like the days pass and there's no like real concept of time and space kind of just blur into each other. And that actually ties into one of my lyrics too, where they're kind of like, like each other's support system. And it's this verse that it's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Seasons are changing and waves are crashing and stars are falling all for us. Days grow longer and nights grow shorter. I can show you I'll be the one. Like, I will be your protector no matter how many days go through, no matter how much time passes. And I think that we can see it in the way that Ellie behaved. But I also think it's interesting in her perspective that she always felt rational to me, even when she was making and doing irrational choices.
Yeah, that is a good point. And I think it ties into one of our favorite quotes too, is like, say anything with enough conviction and you can even fool yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I think it also ties into Lydia and / Serenity and like the brainwashing and the deep rooted trauma that like went into her, you know, being raised to think that way. And honestly, now that we're talking about it, like the way I remember this one, I don't know why this one piece of the book stands out to me. Yeah, it was my understanding that basically his brother, like, it was an Of Mice and Men situation. It was a Lenny situation. Yeah. But yeah, so like when David specifically said, oh, you have a sister, and like, how old's your sister? Oh, she's 10 years older. Oh, you must have been a mistake. And then, oh, you'll never speak your sister's name again. You can't talk about Sam. And I think there was those little things. Yeah, now that we're talking about it out loud, those little like sprinkles that we saw that stripped them of their past identity, gave them a new one, and forged that, you know, okay, if we're quiet here every fourth day, because there's 3 of us now, he'll come see you so you don't have to worry as much. And how quickly you fall into a routine like that. So I guess it does make sense in hindsight. As I was reading, though, I was kind of taken aback by it.
But that's why it's nice to do these podcasts, these
Yeah.
episodes, because we get to think about the book and think about those reasons why.
Yes, because there's always a reason and an intention behind why something's in there. And if not, it's a plot point that probably shouldn't have existed.
Yeah.
But I know that authors never go in with the intention of putting an endless thread of open, useless plot points.
Right. Okay, let's fast forward to just Chelsea's sister, Lydia, being alive and brainwashed. I know we kind of already talked about it, but like,
Yeah.
that effed me up because I'm like, she is taking part in all this, but like, I don't know, just
Like, in what capacity? And then she shot her sister.
Yeah.
Like, she was running away in the woods. 30 more seconds, she said, and she would be off into the brush. So she shoots her in the leg. And then she realizes, holy fuck, this is Lydia.
Yeah.
Like, that's very interesting. I also think this was something, I don't know if you noticed this, but there were obviously different tenses because we were doing flashbacks, but there were different chapters and POVs in first and third person. And I think that it gave us a very interesting perspective on Chelsea specifically because her chapters were in third person. And I think that it gave us enough emotionality to connect to Chelsea, but I think it was an intentional way to pull us back enough so we could still view her as like a clinical detective and not allow us to get wrapped up in her emotional feelings. Whereas Ellie, we're getting these, I felt like I could see,
Yep.
I feel, I hear, the sensory details, and Chelsea's chapters were a little bit more clinical. And I think that balance was done so incredibly well
Yes.
that by the time we got to that impact of her finding her sister alive and part of this captor ring, the blow almost hit harder because while we had a little bit of her emotions tied to her sister, and when she was talking to Ellie and Ellie called the other girls her sisters and said, what would you do for your sister? There's nothing I wouldn't do to save my sister. As those pieces started to fall into place, I think it hit just that much harder when it came around to the end.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Are there any other lyrics that you wanted to highlight right now?
The whole song is just very much like even if saving you sends me to heaven is really the line there. But I just wanted to highlight the opening paragraph is, when I see your smile, tears run down my face, I can't replace. And now that I'm strong, I have figured out how this world turns cold and it breaks through my soul. And I know I'll find deep inside me, I can be the one. And this opening line to me, like as I was listening to this song, was an immediate picture of Ellie and Willa the first time she met Willa, when she got taken into her room and she was keeping her feet warm and squeezing her toes and bringing her in close to her and experiencing this rush of like a maternal instinct, because at that point she had figured out how to be strong and unbreakable in the situation, and now she had to take someone who was even smaller than her, and even more fragile than she was, and make her unbreakable. And that turned into her, it was kind of like Willa gave Ellie the will to live that she was rapidly losing. And that's why this song too, like You're My Guardian Angel, in the darkest of contexts, was Willow was Ellie's guardian angel to keep her alive. And Willow was kind of the crux of the girls being discovered and to stopping everything that was happening. So that was the other lyric that I just wanted to parallel there. What about you?
The song kind of repeats itself a lot, so I think I went over some, but there is one line, it's always the same. I'm running towards nothing again and again and again and again. And I feel like that is really something that hits every single character in this book.
Yeah.
Is they're like keep moving forward, but they're really not getting anywhere. Like they're running towards nothing, and then finally, comes into place at the end. But for the longest time, like the parents of the missing girls, Ellie, Chelsea, Lydia, like, they're going towards something, but it's just happening again and again, like day over day is like the same thing, and they're not going anywhere, is the vibe I got from that lyric to tie over.
Yeah. And there were two quotes that I have down here that I just want to read that I thought were just like kind of heavy hitters. And the first one was in regards to like studying your feelings and being in therapy and going through things. And it's when you study what you've been through, what happened to you, it loses its power. And then you have a choice, stay or move on. And I kind of love that sentiment. But the next one ties into just the kind of the state of the world and what women experience. And it is the most dangerous thing in the world isn't natural disasters or war or weapons. It is unremarkable men with beautiful smiles and even bigger promises.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so we'll finish it off with one, I think, really good quote from this book. Mm-hmm. Is what is grief but the other side of love? Just a simple, short and simple quote, but
yeah, I mean, definitely. To have grief is to have loved. Mm-hmm. You can't grieve something you never felt feelings for.
Yep.
Good or bad. But that was The Return of Ellie Black.
Yeah. What a good random find.
I know. It was a good one.
To kind of switch it up. We've been doing a lot of romance lately, so it was nice to jump back into the genre.
Thriller roots.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for turning the pages with us this week. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, and join our eventual newsletter. One of these days it'll come out. Yep. But I need people to sign up so I can send it out to people besides me and Britt. And just keep up with us with everything with us on the other side of the page.
Yes. And please, please, please drop a review and 5-star rating again of the podcast on your preferred platform and share it with your bookish besties.
Next week, we'll be rocking out not only with pop star Avery Fox, but with the creator of that character. Mm-hmm. We will have a special manuscript episode where we get to interview the author of Love is a War Song, Danica Navha.
So excited.
So exciting.
Cannot wait for that. So be sure to tune in next week for our episode on Love is a War Song and Forever and Always.
Keep reading with kindness.
Bye, everyone.
Peace out.